I got beer in my boots, dirt on my truck, corn on my mind, and a gun up my butt. It's a small town. At least there's dirt, at least there's beer and trucks and shirts.
Howdy there. You've been on the internet all day and you come across the Death of Fun podcast. Join me, Matt McKinley, and my buddies Aaron, Rob, and Tim as we bring you the latest in current events, sports, and a whole bunch of inappropriate jokes that we used to tell to each other back when we were roommates in college. And the world wasn't so lame. So kick back, crack a beer, and join us for a few laps. Unless you're gay. And even if you are, join us anyways. Welcome to the Death of Fun.
That's pretty good. That is pretty good.
Well, let's get into it. I don't know what we got going on yet, but
you had your Sam Neill voice going on there.
You know what? I am a professional podcaster, so.
Made both candidates and their campaigns agreed to accept.
So we're a couple seconds behind.
Now, please welcome
meaning on
the
YouTube,
46th
we're like 30
president
minutes
of the United
behind.
States,
But
Joe
Look at him
Biden.
point.
Anyway.
He points at nothing.
Folks, how are you?
Waves at nothing.
Did he shit his pants on the way in?
Made both candidates and their campaigns
Let's
agreed
watch the
to
wall.
accept these rules.
He might have shit his
Now,
pants on
please
the way
welcome
in.
the 46th president of the United States, Joe Biden.
Doesn't look
I'm
good.
gonna wave at the wall.
How you doing?
He does not look all popped up on amphetamines yet.
And please welcome
Yes.
the 45th president
No,
of the
they
United
timed
States.
it perfectly,
Donald
like
Trump.
5 minutes after. Hey, bitches.
I'm back.
This is stupid.
I'm back.
He's gay.
This guy's old.
Everyone's
He
gay.
doesn't know where he's
Debate,
at.
and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120.
How's
And
the
typical
volume
home
over there?
prices have jumped more than
Good.
30%.
Fine.
What do you say
Can
to
you hear
voters who
us?
feel they are worse
I
off
can hear
under
you, yeah.
your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall.
Clear your throat,
was so
dude.
badly handled. Many people were dying.
He's on some Adderall. He's definitely on some Adderall. And apparently it dries out the throat.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
And all he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed.
Wow, he's throwing everything at him.
Injecting the bleach in the arm was not a real quote. We all know.
It's the first
We-
4
we
seconds.
And he
he's
said,
throwing
shove
all
it
of
up your ass, right? That's what he
You
said.
know,
Quote
you know what they told Trump? Like, don't react facial wise. Like, he's been stoned.
He's like,
They're like, let him talk. Let him talk, baby. Let
Yeah,
him
just
talk.
let
I
him
know.
let him just shit the bed.
He's way better off just with the facial expressions because I mean, let's face it, Donald Trump is hilarious no matter what he does. It's fucking funny.
I
I
can't
don't
wait
want
for
him
his
to be
first
president. I don't want him to be president. I don't want Joe Biden to be president, but Donald Trump, just the facial reactions are funny.
line. He's got
Let's see,
something up his sleeve already.
He's like,
By the way, if
this
you're
motherfucker.
I'm going to kill him.
we are live on YouTube and Rumble. We might get kicked off of YouTube, but either way, go to the Death of Fun podcast on YouTube, Burning Daylight on Rumble. That's where we're at.
No jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out in a position
God.
where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, but there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come from a household where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems.
He might not survive.
We're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. Explode. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you
he sounds like he's doing a book report in high school.
The War of 1812, which started in 1812.
He crammed for it last night, except he's been cramming for about a week at Camp David after he shit himself at Normandy. And then who was it, like the Italian prime minister that had to go fetch him back during the
Macron from France? He had to go find him.
Well, that was at Normandy, but then he did something else, and I think it was the chick from Italy that had to go
wandered off. It's all right.
Yeah, and then they did that fundraiser, and Obama had to lead him off stage.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Hey, old man, we're over here.
You know what? I'll give him a pass for the skydiving one, the parachuters one.
It was pretty fucking cool.
Because
I would have been blown away.
I've been in that situation where it's like, oh, what about this guy? This guy did it too. Nobody's congratulating him. I give him a pass on that one.
All right, fair enough. And
I felt
also,
bad for the other
he doesn't know where he's at.
He
doesn't know where he's at. So, yeah, I'll give him a pass on that. Yeah. The fundraiser, bad look guy. Shit in your pants on Normandy, bad look.
You have to take a look at all that was done in his administration. He didn't do much at all.
On the
By
edge
the time
of his
he
seat,
left, or things were in chaos.
I'm going to call it
literally
I'm
chaos.
calling it right now.
And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we now
look at Donald Trump's facial
prescription
expressions.
drugs, which is a major issue.
Trump has something up his sleeve right now.
$15 shot. Insulin shot as opposed.
Is he gonna have Hunter there, or is he gonna have Hunter's baby mama?
I want
you to see this guy.
Oh, there's no audience. By the way, mics are muted unless you're speaking, and unless it's your allotted time to speak. Let's see if they cut Trump off.
I want him to admit that
Trump, shut up.
All of Hunter's artwork. He was the anonymous guy that bought all the artwork.
I think there's 3 commercial breaks, which we will pop down from the screen. And since we're starting behind, we can skip forward. But either way, no free ads. I don't make any money off of this shit anyway, so you're not getting any free money off of me. Corporate bastards.
Donna looks angry.
Yeah, he does.
Holy shit.
He knew he was coming out with this, and he just has something up his sleeve. He's gonna fucking
$400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug. All the drugs they can include beginning next year.
All the drugs.
And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down
all
the price around the
to
kitchen
all
table,
Americans.
and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you.
If that was his campaign pitch.
We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit
this
with
dude needs a
COVID,
a crowd in front of him.
and when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military,
still yells.
no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs, a bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you, President Biden.
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world. And, the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where his economy. He rewarded
He doesn't
the wealthy.
know what to do with
He
his
had the
hands.
largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other
Besides
than
you,
Herbert
dumb
Hoover
shit.
who had lost more jobs
No, it was
than
Trump.
he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover.
There was a lot
He
of
still-
The
Trump.
idea that he
He
did
still has
something
a
that was
half year.
significant in the military. You know, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan.
So, Rob, I know you're not a fan of. I know you're not a fan of Tucker Carlson, but you should listen to the interview that he did with Thomas Massey, because Thomas Massey was
the guy from Kentucky.
Yeah, he was the one guy during COVID that was like, "Hey, if we're gonna spend $2.2 trillion, you should put your name behind it on the vote."
Right.
And so he was the one guy to object to unanimous consent. So that means like they're like, "Do we have unanimous consent?" And if they say yes,
No.
then it passes. And he said no. He drove from fucking Kentucky in a snowstorm to say, "I object." And so that meant not every member of Congress, but enough members of Congress had to come back to get a quorum. So that was like 270 something. And then immediately after he objected, he was on the phone with Trump, and Trump was like, "I'm going to come at you like you've never before." So, yeah. And by the way, Donald Trump printed his fucking name on the stimulus checks. If there was any doubt that Trump added to the inflation.
Oh, that
But
one pissed me the fuck off. That one pissed me the fuck off.
That being
You
said,
still cashed it.
that being said,
Yeah, but
Joe
Thank you
Biden
for getting that
Joe
money. I
Biden
want that
spent
money.
like twice as much.
Stand. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe
Old
country.
Trump is getting
Truth is,
he's getting
I'm the
geared
only
up for some
president
awesome
this
facial
century
expressions.
that doesn't have any this decade that done
they
any
were probably
troops
telling him
dying
just be as
anywhere in the
boring
world.
as
Do you
you
think he
can.
did?
Do you think Joe Biden
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Oh, there's
You
the
want to-
pouty.
Respond to him.
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others. In all fairness to China,
was
it's going to
first one.
just force them to pay us a lot of money,
Such
reduce our
bullshit.
deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other
China.
things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why
Our
we had all
money.
the jobs, and the
Thank-
jobs went down,
thank
and then
you.
they bounced
Thank
back. And
you
he's
for
taking
giving
credit
us
for
more of
bounce
our
back
money.
jobs. You can't do
Thank
that.
you.
He also said
Can't
he
get
inherited
credit for the bounce
9%
back job.
inflation. No,
Eat shit,
he inherited
peasant.
almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the
He's
last
not
8
wrong
years,
on
under
that.
both of your
He's not wrong
administrations,
at
the
all.
national debt
There's a
soared
lot
to
That
record
went off
high.
quite a bit, I believe.
The Afghanistan stuff, he was not wrong. I will say, and I've said this for a while, the greatest accomplishment in Joe Biden's presidential tenure so far is getting us out of Afghanistan. That being said, he fucked it up in the most
It was going to be fucked up
horrific
no matter
way.
what. There's no way
It
you could've
was.
gone away.
It was, but
Not
like,
Joe's fault.
it was a little bit Joe's fault. A little bit Joe's
That was
fault.
a fuck up. That was going to be a fuck up.
They just handed over Bagram Air Base without even telling the
He
Afghans.
told him the day they were doing it on.
That doesn't
Well, no,
matter.
he
They already
told
were
them
there,
after
right?
they left.
Yeah.
After we left, he was like, "Oh, by the way, this is yours now." And then they're like, "Oh yeah, the Afghan army can last for several years," and nobody, literally nobody, thought that. They said, "Sir, this is terrible," and he just kept
Nice.
on chugging.
And according to a new
It's
nonpartisan
not
analysis,
you, it's
President
me.
Exactly.
Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt. Well, so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set.
Well, the question is, do they include housing and food in that number, like they don't include it in inflation? Because if you exclude the highest priced items from inflation numbers, inflation looks fucking great under Biden. But if you exclude housing and food, and also I think energy is in there as well, the three most important things to live on.
Are Tim Sibians included in that inflation index?
Let's hope so. Let's hope so for Tim's sake.
Those are recession proof.
I want a good quarterly report for Tim. Like Sibian lives matter.
I will get the spreadsheet going now.
To expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it. Something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But yet far more people died in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job. Just
Look at that. Look at that. He's like, that's going to smell. Look at that. Look at that smirk. That's going to smell.
Over to Donald.
You need to freeze that and put it somewhere in the promo, because that face, this is beautiful.
I'm doing a screenshot right now. I pooped myself. There we go. It's there. It's done.
Very poor job.
Captured.
And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things.
Can I just say that we have a 78-year-old versus an 82-year-old right now? Like, for all intents and purposes, we got two octogenarians just hashing it out.
It's just it's like a King of the Hill episode where they're just like fighting over Halloween.
Yeah, it's a late stage Empire shit.
He's done. We've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country. And I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this
so
block.
they're not
President
Biden.
He had some momentum.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example,
he's not going to address immigration at all.
In America. I mean, billionaires in America.
Oh, trillionaires in America.
Not on this course.
Not on this. They in fact pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 million.
If we could just take 25% of your money without you fighting back, we'll be great. 25%, just an entire quarter of your earnings that we did nothing to earn. We're just going to take it.
God, guys, we should have taken Adderall in college.
To pay for the shit that you never voted on. But we're going to pay for it. Well, not really. We're going to pay for Social Security, which should be underwater right now. But hey, if we just take 25% of your wealth, we're good, man. We're good.
Matt's libertarian dick is so
We'd be able to write without his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care.
He should spend more time on elder care, honestly. More time on elder care. I mean, I'm gonna screenshot that too. Look at him, elder care. That'll be the only headline on that. It's just, or the only text is just elder care.
System, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with.
Oh no!
We finally beat Medicare.
Thank you,
finally beat Medicare.
He's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on.
I don't like stereotypical Republican Don. He should have been like, "What the fuck was that?"
What I finished that there? Joe?
I yield the rest of my time to Joe rambling.
No. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah.
We didn't quite understand you. Can you say that again?
Enlighten me. Instead, he did like the canned Republican response. I don't like this new Trump.
Medicare, they're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security.
Yes,
he will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that
but
sentence.
None of us are going to have it.
What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries,
Tim should have had it
with
like
a lot of people.
200 years
They cannot
ago,
believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive.
Tim, do you get free abortions every time you call off an engagement?
Oh my God. Oh,
it doesn't even make sense, but it was still funny.
I know.
It doesn't make any sense, but it's still
Former
funny.
President
I'm just
Trump
curious.
I'll
credit
give it to
for the decision to open.
No, just the pink Hello
Inquiring
Kitty,
minds
weapon.
want to know. Inquiring minds want to know, Tim.
Turn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions.
Supreme Court just
As
overturned
president,
that.
would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion bill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex, but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, and getting into
Rob,
other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world,
I thought that said black abortion medication. That's my bad. That's my bad.
What about trans abortion?
Oh. Can we get the South Park guys on for that? I would love that so much.
I'm really having a hard one with that one. I can't.
With black abortion medication, that's what you're having a hard time with?
No, the trans abortion.
Oh.
I'm just like trying to see how that fits and works, and it's short-circuiting me.
Nobody knows how that works, but it's right and just and fair, okay?
Okay.
We're still in Pride Month, so how dare you even ask?
Most respected. Wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important.
And Donald Trump.
Some people don't follow your heart, but you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia,
after birth,
he was willing to do this. He
Yes.
said, we'll put the baby
That's a
aside
haunting smell.
and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning
There's
we'll kill
only
the baby.
one smell. Like
What happened is we brought it back to the states,
it's
and the country is
cross-species, by the
now
way.
coming together on this issue. It's been a
what?
great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing.
It transcends
The fact
species.
is that the vast majority of constitutional
Jesus Christ. Joe, drink some water.
I've delivered a lot of calves, and they all smell I won't say exactly the same because
but just in
cows,
the ballpark?
Well, that amniotic fluid, that smell does not change. Like as soon as my daughter, who's the oldest of my kids, as soon as that water broke, I fucking knew. I smelled plenty of cows. And I'm like, oh, that's afterbirth. That's afterbirth.
Please tell me you told Ro what that smelled like.
I tried to tell it in the class. They're like, what do you do when you have a breech baby or whatever? And I said, I brought the chains. Motherfucker.
I fucked it to death.
That joke did not go over so well in the birthing class.
No?
No, I don't know why. Don't know why. Let's hear what Uncle Joe has to say.
constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided.
No.
Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying,
how dare him?
That was
how
tough.
dare him on Pride Month? On Pride Month.
Assuming the damn.
I want my
God
doctor to be Zhejem.
I'm voting for RFK now. God damn it.
turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral.
An immigrant.
Because of you. Because of
yes,
you.
let's blame Joe for that. Yeah, let's do that.
Jesus Christ.
Wait, we went from abortion to the dead girl. Was he like, oh, they're both girls, whatever?
Oh, I got an email today from Jackie Rosen, by the way. So I got on the Democratic email list after I donated the Tulsi Gabbard back in 2020. I gave her $25 because she wrecked Hillary Clinton. And now I get a minimum of 3 emails a day
Yeah, you're on the list, dude.
Yeah, I'm on the list, and now
Aaron
it's like
put me on a list.
Now it's like 10 emails a day.
List.
But there was a survey from the Nevada DNC, and I was like, all right, I'll take that. The very last question, and I saw that because it has the tracker at the bottom, 80% done. There was 5 questions total. And the last question, the options were, yes, I want to donate now, or yes, I can donate more. I was like, you motherfuckers, I just want to finish. I want to finish the survey.
No, you got to make some money.
I included.
Yes, I want to not donate.
That wasn't an option. That was what I wanted to do. I looked it over many a time. That was not an option. The only option was yes, I want to donate, or yes, I want to donate more than you're asking, which was $5. And I might go ahead and do it just to see, because does that not bug you that you don't finish a survey like that?
What were the questions?
The first question was my phone number, so I put the Reno area code and 420-6969 because I'm a goddamn adult.
That's just poor campaigning. Like, you want to grab like supporters as well as money.
Every time there was a spot where you could type something, I put in a quote about your mom.
Cool.
I did switch it up, but I didn't get to finish the goddamn survey because they wanted me to donate $5 to Jackie Rosen, who is awful, just awful. I can't imagine giving her my vote, let alone 5 of my hard-earned dollars that she wants to tax more.
The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about that, but here's the deal: there's a lot of young women to be raped by their in-laws, by their.
We want people to be raped by their in-laws. Is that what he said?
Go back, flip it a little bit. Go 10.
Yeah, I need to hear that one again.
All right, so 20 seconds.
Yeah, then we get context.
By their spouses.
Ugh.
Yeah. All right.
This is our president.
He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that
who went to the funeral, Uncle Joe?
Trump went to the funeral.
Is that what he's saying? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to follow.
He was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about that, but here's the deal: there's a lot of young women to be raped by their in-laws, by their spouses.
By their in-laws and spouse.
Would you block abortion medication? That's the question now.
Trump.
That's
Trump just needs to say, "I yield all of my time back."
That's got to be the title.
Every minute.
That's got to be the title for the show.
Raped
I yield my time.
in-laws.
No, it's got to be raped by in-laws and husbands. Whatever that full sentence is.
Jesus Christ.
Can't rape the willing.
Brothers and sisters.
They better be funny.
Who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about that. But here's the deal. There's a lot of young women are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters.
Trump's face,
it's just ridiculous. And they can do nothing about it.
How many people are getting raped by their family?
Dude, so many people. So many people. Have you not raped your kids yet? God damn it.
Incest is best. Jesus. Like,
and they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
It's so prevalent, dude.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world, considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping.
Rob's not worried.
Rob has something to say.
The floating wall was the most dangerous thing ever. Isn't that why they made him get rid of it?
The wall?
What?
Yeah,
John Daly wants to put a bunch of
the floating wall.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You just wish you had the green monster. That's I figured out, you Chicago people. You just want the green monster. Like, I mean, and it would look fucking rad. The green monster with Ivy. Come on, that's a dream come true. But you just don't have it, Rob. It's fine.
Are you talking about the Boston Fenway?
Yeah. Austin, Massachusetts.
Yeah,
I am really lost.
Boston, Massachusetts.
That's what Cubs fans really want is that heritage. Yeah, they want that heritage.
Want the green monster in Wrigley Field.
Yeah, but they want it covered in ivy, and how cool would that look?
I mean,
it would look
that
fucking
a real
rad.
Story? I mean, it would look rad.
Right, and that's why the Cubs fans are so terrible all these years. Is that they really just want
green monster up there?
Yeah,
Rob wants to cover his dick in ivy.
I mean,
it's
climb that, bitch.
It would only take one leaf, but
just a straight up Adam photo.
I mean,
doing a little bit of stuff on the hair. Yeah.
If somebody can draw that, send it to me, and I will put it. I will move my Boogaloo flag, and I will move my Lonesome Dove sign.
That would be amazing.
And I will not take it down for any podcast. I could be with one of these two fuckers. I could be with the president of the United States, and I will not take that down, Rob.
It would have to be.
Call me anti-Semitic now. Call me anti-Semitic.
It'd have to be Rob and Emily.
Well, yeah, I don't care. I just want Rob's beautiful Jewish dick with an ivy around it. That's what I want. Somebody draw that.
Jump on it.
And killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states. The states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have. Everybody wanted it brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President
Uncle Joe
Biden,
is
7 states.
We're gonna need a montage. That's what every time he looks down, that's what he's that's what's in his mind. Look at him now.
Corn Pop should have had an abortion.
He's ready for it. I'm gonna screenshot that one too.
Gotta have a montage.
Oh, he's like, here comes my wheelhouse.
Come on,
baby.
Hey, right. Jack.
Talking about that abortion.
All right, we got it.
I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion.
In Colorado.
Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The First time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor. I will
say, whatever drugs they gave him,
the idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v.
Okay, motherfucker.
Pure entertainment.
I had an entire bowl of peanut butter before I came out here.
That look, like Donald might go cheap shot.
I like the little wiggle there.
Just kind of.
He's still in there.
He can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run,
cheap Trump.
Take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true.
He can't turn his
neck.
neck.
Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Under
Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion.
End of quote.
You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years,
angry,
and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? In fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban.
Donald Trump is winning this. He's too fucking entertaining, dude. He is too entertaining.
Trump is winning.
You got no chance, Rob.
He's not winning this.
You got no chance.
This debate.
He sounds like an idiot. Right?
I
saying
think
the same thing over and over again.
You're saying that, and you have your guy saying
Trump's
that.
An 83-year-old freaking retard. It's not a.
Yeah, and you have
your retard is 3 years older. Your retard is 3 years older.
They're both retarded.
Don't be comparing retards here. All right.
I think it's about even with the blunders and the vagueness. Like this is nonchalant.
I don't like Trump's
flat on the top.
He's too rehearsed. You gotta let the big dog breathe. You gotta let the big dog run. Let him go. If he comes off like an asshole, who cares? You're gonna get restrained. We've got 4 screenshots. Most of them are Biden. But man, I'm gonna go back to that little head wave. And then he gave it the standard Republican response.
He almost looks like he's just really sad because he knows there's going to be consequences if you get crazy, sir. And he's sad.
If we're being honest, it looks like Donald Trump shit his pants, not Joe Biden.
Yep.
If we're being honest.
On abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative.
Look at him go.
Sign that
He's
bill?
loading up.
I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden migrants have illegally
Let the man speak. Let the man speak.
Oh, lame.
So lame.
That was
funny.
How are we better producers than these fucks? God damn it.
Matt, you need a producer.
I know. Who wants to be a producer? You can.
Nose goes.
Border on your watch.
I'm going to have
overwhelming border states
and
overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where
it was so bipartisan that it didn't even come for a vote because so many Republicans said no. So bipartisan.
This silence is
no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. Significantly. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed me, endorsed my position.
Look at those eyes.
In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since
He sounds like an old tractor.
Yeah, that's about right.
I've heard
red hot.
I heard my grandpa make that same noise after he had dementia and was in hospice care, as Joe Biden should be.
I've changed the law. What's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative.
Right there. He pulled it back in.
What we're going to do with
he was
more
prairie dogging hard, but that poop did not come out.
No, going to fix it.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Yes! Spot time.
Rewind that. Rewind it to the
I
end.
know what you just said.
Ugh.
Oh, fuck.
Come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed me, endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. 40%. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
Yeah. President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Trump just won the election with that.
That's going to be
I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Oh, fuck.
That was good.
That's gonna be a meme. If it's not a meme already, I'm disappointed in America. God damn it.
The timing was so.
He could have said that 6 times and he hadn't done it.
I know, but the timing. That's how you know he's a fucking entertainer. He knew the moment.
He's like, oh, here we go.
Boom. Drop the fucking. It was tremendous.
All right, what's he going to say then?
We had the safest border in the history of our country.
Oh, God.
The border, all he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere, all over the world. They're pouring.
You just have to imagine this motherfucker talking to Macron and Trudeau in the exact same tone. That's what makes me want to vote for him. And it's like, fuck those motherfuckers. Like, let's send them the most brash asshole we can. And the most brash asshole I can think of is fucking Donald Trump. God damn it. He's so funny. So funny.
Bring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency.
Legislation? I didn't have legislation. I just said close it. Possibly the most un-American thing Yet, the most American thing to ever be said in one sentence.
Yeah.
Legislation. What legislation? I just closed it. We don't need legislation.
Legislation. Oh, what?
I'll tip a cap to the lefties who say that Donald Trump might become a dictator. That proved it. But also, like I said, can you think of a more American thing to say? Legislation. We don't need legislation. I just said close it.
See, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that. He endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But
Brandon,
just border in history.
I know a guy.
Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it, and people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
President Trump, President Biden.
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed three, under his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person come in and his administration, killed three.
Rob, that's your boy.
Before he continues.
What's that?
He's saying a terrorist came over under Trump's administration and killed people here. All right.
All right. Well, let's hear it from the beginning.
Great way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. All he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it.
God damn it.
He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, really everywhere, all over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who was great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that. They endorsed me for president.
They endorsed me. Just talk to him. I know.
Just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed three, under his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person come in and his administration, killed three American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people. That's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating. He's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses?
That's a dicey issue for Trump, the mass deportation. But after that answer, it's the fucking perfect time for Trump to be asked that question. He can be like, I'll get back to you. Did you see that? What is it?
Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Our citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades. And if so,
but it's Donald Trump. He's going to say,
just 1 second.
He's going to go
said
hard.
We killed three people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the two greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union because we don't have borders anymore.
I'm not real sure what he's going for.
I don't know what he's talking about.
But if you're a Trump fan, you're loving every bit of this.
They're getting so hard.
The state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, People are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that
he was going for it there, but he is like, too wordy. And then he blurted out a not great one.
BMC.
Biden migrant crime.
That we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these three incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and they just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they live.
Admit it right now. Motherfucker's good at what he does. Motherfucker's good.
He's good. He's good.
He's good. He just doesn't know. He just doesn't know.
Yeah.
Rob, I'm with you. He's a better entertainer. Like, there's not much substance, but
I'm not saying that he's a good politician, but at this, motherfucker's good.
You got some.
He is the best debater in the history of America.
Motherfucker's good.
Yeah.
Great.
What else do you say?
He's the master debater.
They're living in luxury hotels
in
New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all. And he doesn't.
Like I said, Rob, you don't have to like him as a person, but game recognized game. Motherfucker's got game.
He's not going to invite them to his birthday party. He doesn't like them.
He's not going to touch them. Definitely not going to touch them. Like, get the immigrants out.
Doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since they passed the PACT. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And he opposed, his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers.
Dude doesn't have to say
My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
Nice.
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him.
Made that up.
We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said
it would be smart here if he pivoted to him wanting to go to war. That would be smart. Because then he'd be like,
politically,
who wants to protect the soldiers, me or this guy wants to go to war?
Yeah.
Like, that would hit so fucking hard.
He would say something about our soldiers in Ukraine and just, he would pull
strictly
the ultimate.
politically.
You mean no soldiers?
Strictly
would,
politically.
No soldiers. We've had soldiers there for a long time. But Donald Trump, being Donald Trump, would just say it out loud, which you're not supposed to do. But he would do it in such a way, and his base is so on his side, they'd be like, fuck yeah, fuck Russia, let's go.
It was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made
Playing
up,
the hits.
just like the new
Playing
thing with
the
the
hits.
16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers story.
He wanted to say something about convicted felon, but he held back. He held back smartly. Smartly.
His team was like, don't fucking call him a convict.
Don't mention
Don't
the
call him
dude.
a convict.
Yeah.
Goddamn say it.
He wanted to, but he saw
did.
that just like that little tiny hiccup. He's like, no, can't say that. Can't say that.
You should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history.
Ever.
American history.
Anybody.
And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to
He
care
wants to
for our
say
veterans
something.
when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right. Thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy. I want to begin.
You guys remember when Clint Eastwood talked to a stool at the RNC? That's
That
what
was a
this
thing.
That's what this reminds me of. Like, I'm obviously way more on the right wing side of things than Rob here, but I can admit that the Clint Eastwood thing was a little fucking weird.
That was
Did not make a lot of sense. Joe Biden sounds a lot like Clint Eastwood when he was talking to that stool. A lot.
I'm not gonna
Begin with
disagree that.
Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump,
3 fucking
Russian
years.
President
Jesus.
Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him,
What?
that we've ever had. They can't
First
stand
of
him.
all-
So let's get that straight.
First of all, they can't stand this. I mean,
They would spit on him if he was on fire. First
like
of
I
all.
said, game recognized game. Motherfucker's good at this. He's good at this.
And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information.
Sure.
As far as
Uh-oh,
Russia
he's got
and
a point.
Ukraine, if we had a real
He wants to say
president, the
something.
president
Oh,
that
man.
knew, that was respected by Putin,
This is where we get to the get off my damn lawn moment. Uncle Joe.
Sure is coming.
Uncle Joe hit a nerve there. Like he was like,
Hopefully he remembers his point.
Yeah.
single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, a president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine.
Oh my God.
A lot of people are dead right now,
I
much
like
more
how they
than
keep
people know.
zooming
You know,
in on Uncle Joe, like just like.
Nope, wouldn't have happened under me. Never
You
would
see it. You see it building.
and I are buds.
Uncle.
The way he's reacting, he better have like a firebomb. Like he better have a firebomb.
Let's have something serious.
It's like the old school Coke and was it Mentos that you drop in the Coke to make it spew? It's like you can see it coming up the neck. It hasn't spewed yet, but it's about there.
You're gonna spew. Spew it is.
Uncle Joe's ready to blow.
they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers.
Look
He
at
did
him.
nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned. And so he's got no love lost, but he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most
turn it on.
embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all.
Oh, he forgot
during my administration. This
forgot
place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
He's ad-libbing. He's ad-libbing.
He forgot his point.
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life.
Malarkey!
In a situation where let's get the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of.
Trump's gonna be like, I took out Soleimani with a giant knife. Dropped in the air.
He just heard the word brain damage and he's like creaming in his pants right
now.
These troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president, they attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did. To encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. Listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish, Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands of
it was until 2 years ago, whenever the invasion started. And all of a sudden, like, no! The way you've been saying it all your life, chicken a la Kiev, or chicken Kiev. No, that doesn't exist. Chicken Kiev.
Thousands of troops. 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I never said that.
For 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine.
No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more.
What's your solution then
to Ukraine? He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think
there will be no solution. Come on.
Okay. throw an idea out, just like a little one.
It's gonna sound. It's gonna sound really good, but not say anything like any good politician does.
Never been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled.
Wow.
People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have
not one single specific, but like I said, it sounds fucking awesome.
It does.
Sounds like an idiot.
It sounded pretty good.
No, it didn't. I'm gonna just figure it out before I even become president. Yep, that's
well, I'm not saying he gave any specifics. I specifically said no specifics, but it sounded good.
I mean, Rob,
right, I can say that.
He's talking like you in circles and going off on tangents. You should love this shit.
He's gonna make it happen. No need to worry about how.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
I got it.
Minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war,
Belarus
you ought
is
to
not
find
NATO.
out what he's going to do, because if
Poland.
in fact he does what he says and
Poland
walks
is.
away, by the way, all that
Did
money
Trumpy
we
pick
give
up on that?
Ukraine are from weapons we make
Probably
here in the
not.
United
He
States.
doesn't know
We give
where
them the
Poland
weapons,
is.
not the
Well,
money.
he doesn't know Belarus, Poland, whatever. He's like,
It's like, I would-
never would have
Wash your
happened.
hands.
That face right there. That face right there. That's how Trump gives head to a woman. Just little butterfly.
Yum, 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 yum.
Doesn't move the tongue, moves the head side to side.
But just a
Waves-
slight
waves
tongue.
the
'cause
hair.
That same way when he was gearing up to come back at Uncle Joe, he's like,
Time to
Money at this point.
eat some
And,
veg.
and our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
Oh, BB's
President
watching
Biden,
now.
You've put forward a proposal to
He fell asleep.
Jamal
Wake him up!
Bowman
Wake him
is
up!
Bowman is crying right now.
resolve this conflict. But so far, Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and
Joe's
Israel
ready.
is continuing
Look at
its
him.
military offensive in Gaza.
Yeah,
So
he
what
looks like
additional
he's
I
leverage
came to
gross
will
CNN
you
for a
use to
softball.
get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through to the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu.
Does anybody else feel bad laughing at the old bastard?
At the stutter.
I came into this rooting for him, and he's done nothing but shit the bed.
I feel like there's not really anything outside of what we haven't seen.
Yeah.
You know,
Like nothing.
in his defense, there have been no visible poops.
None.
I haven't seen a poop.
No visible poops. There was one possibly that smells bad, but no visible poops.
You know what? Maybe I'm so
Jury's still out
desensitized.
on peeing himself.
Maybe I'm so desensitized. I can't.
Well, I think he's got the depends on. So I
And
think he's okay.
once again, you guys know I'm not a big fan of Uncle Joe, but I'm a big fan of America, and he's still more of a man than Justin Trudeau or Emmanuel Macron.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Canadian French bastards.
Yeah. Fuck you guys.
Right now,
Himself have
Fucking
endorsed
French.
the plan I put
we
forward.
are
Oh,
the
yeah.
strongest company or strongest
Strongest.
nation.
Yes, we are the strongest.
strongest
company.
nation on earth, and this is who's in charge. Like,
But did America go down 3-0 in the Stanley Cup, come back to force a game 7, and then still
goddamn
lose?
right they did.
No.
They
That was
almost-
Canada.
No, they won. They
that
won.
Was,
They came to.
that was Canada.
America
Canada
almost
went
did it.
down
They, yeah.
0-3. They came all the way back
It
to
was a
force a
close
game 7 and had to go down to Florida, which is arguably the most American state at the moment, and got their shit rocked. So, you know what? Fuck off, Canada.
Canada
Our
hasn't had a
guy-
Stanley Cup in like 20
We beat
years.
you at your own sport.
This fella
In
is not,
Florida.
it's not our best suit. Definitely not our best suit, but it's still better than Justin Trudeau.
Endorse the plan I put forward, which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire
You
with
think
additional
Justin Trudeau
conditions.
admits
The
that he
third
has
phase
balls?
is the end of the war. The only one who wants the
I don't
war
know
to
if that's
continue
allowed
is
in
Hamas.
Canada anymore.
Number one, they're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the
Pushing real
meantime,
good.
what's happened in Israel? We're finding the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so there's two different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weak.
Wait, pause. Biden was the only one that did not want to do the raid on bin Laden.
I'm not going on policy here. I'm just saying I feel like the muted mics is a lot like the pitch clock in baseball. I thought I would hate it. I thought I would hate it, but now where Donald Trump's not allowed to interject and you just see the facial expressions.
I kind of like that.
I don't hate it. I don't fucking hate it.
We're missing the good little grumbling one-liners.
They should have somebody. They should have him with a hot mic, but a good producer to know when to cut it and just like, oh, he's got something here.
Yeah.
And be ready with the buttons, like turn it on, turn it on, turn it on. All right, turn it off.
Weakened Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
I can't wait for Donald's response here.
Yeah.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent 100 billion or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any, they were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting you got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness.
I don't know
this
what
is a
that
guy who
meant.
wants to get out of NATO.
I don't know what that meant, but
what does that mean? He's
I don't know, but it was funny.
He was 2 brain cells away from calling him a gay one.
Oh,
because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. Are you going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have our strength lies in our alliances as well. There may be a big ocean, but we're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. You see what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. He's got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able.
This is the most effort I've seen Donald Trump exert in ever. He wants to say something so bad.
Oh my God.
Optimus.
Will be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money. So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations. Because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically.
That was the perfect answer
about the
to
same
pivot.
size as the
Maybe
United
we'll
States.
see.
And they were no cars. No, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this. I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question. Would you guard us against Russia at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time. And they said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021, and who rallied with supporters that day. Some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever.
Awesome
on
deflection.
January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th?
No, they're going to get
and worry that you'll do it again.
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say.
Filmmaker.
But she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard.
She doesn't have the authority.
And she turned them down. And the mayor of, in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down. The mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see, I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it.
You did nothing.
And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks. Number one, I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America.
Yeah, that 3
In fact,
hours.
He says he'll now forgive them for what they did.
That 3 hour thing
wasn't great, but
that's not good.
Also, if he would have called in the National Guard, they would have called him a dictator because you're not allowed to do that. You can offer up the National Guard like he did Pelosi.
Pelosi has no authority to do that.
She's
not real.
She's technically the head of the Capitol Police, right?
She doesn't have the authority to actually call in the guard. That is not what she does. She can't do that shit. All right. So, I don't know where this shit is coming from.
Right. But if Trump would have sent in the National Guard,
which he didn't do. All right.
Right. But you would have called him a dictator if he did because he doesn't have the authority.
No. Why wouldn't you have the authority to bring in the National Guard onto the U.S. Capitol? I don't get that part. All right.
Because the president is the head of the military, which operates on foreign soil.
But he can bring the National Guard onto the U.S. onto the border? I don't get that. I think he has the authority to do that. Right?
No, he can request National Guard, but he cannot deploy the National Guard until they are surrendered under his control.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with Nancy Pelosi and the U.S. Capitol Police?
No, I'm saying that if Trump would have sent the National Guard in, you would have called him a dictator because he doesn't have that authority.
I mean, I would not have, but...
Are you sure, Rob?
Are
you sure?
I've been totally fine
He
with
wants
that.
to commute their sentences.
Are you sure?
No. But he went to every single court in the nation.
You would have called him a dictator trying to overthrow the government,
the Supreme
which
Court.
he would have had the power to do.
They said, no,
right?
this guy this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He did do a damn thing, and these people should be in jail, and they should be the ones who are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out. And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that there could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities, you go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed.
Oh,
They took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that, they saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing, the Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now. There is. He isn't. What he's telling you is simply not true.
Yep, I am.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
Even Donald was like, oh, yeah.
He isn't. What he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who was convicted, deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody, just went in and broke down doors, broke the windows, occupied offices, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots, come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had, first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing to, will you denounce these guys?
Stand by.
You denounce the people we're talking about now? You denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury conviction of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, coming right to you, sir.
It's like,
well, you want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea
giving him a minute.
that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous.
Look at that hair in the back. That's old, that is old man hair. I know that because that's how my dad's hair looks in the back.
Real fine.
It's real fine. Real fine. That is old man Irish hair. The old Mexican guys don't have it stays thicker for longer, but the white boys,
it goes quick.
That's old man hair.
It's simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three,
we just say it in private.
the crimes you are still charged with. And think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant? I mean,
what crime was committed there, Joe?
About?
Yeah.
You have the morals of an alley cat.
Morals of an alley
I didn't
cat.
have sex with a porn star. Number one.
Cool.
Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats,
They're
appointed
trying to
people.
get him on contempt of court right there because he's still technically under gag order.
They loosened it a little bit.
Right, but
that's what
they're still gonna try. If they went after him on that bullshit charge in New York where there was no prior crime that escalated it to a felony, like they convicted him of a felony in New York, but the felony was an escalator for a federal election crime that he was never charged with, let alone convicted of. If they're going to try that, I mean, yeah, good luck. And now they're like, if you're going to mince words, be good at it. And Joe Biden can't complete a word. He's so old. He's so fucking old.
Both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did?
Dum-dum.
My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump
are they asking him a tough question? Are they asking him a tough question? Holy
Look at
shit.
The deer in the headlights right there.
Holy shit.
That the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
Is Jake Tapper
The more they
a
know
real
about
journalist?
what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you hear any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? You ever hear any presidents say that I thought he had some good ideas?
Rob, do you see any irony in the fact that they're talking about Donald Trump seeking retribution while Joe Biden's DOJ is prosecuting Trump for a bunch of I won't say bullshit, but I will say I'll say sketchy.
They're
charges.
throwing everything at the wall.
Sketchy at
I'm
best.
not sure how either the capital freaking offense stuff that he does and the shit he was trying to do in Georgia is throwing it against the wall. All right, I think it's a pretty slam dunk case in both those regards. But
but what about the other ones?
the records though? By the way,
and the confidential or crap that the papers and shit like that he had.
But they don't. Biden's own DOJ won't charge him for the same exact crime, even though Donald Trump had declassification power because he was president.
He can't do it with his mind. All right.
Okay, but Joe Biden couldn't do it at all, and they were found next to his Corvette.
If you're gonna compare, leaving a bunch of
it's the same. It's the same charge
versus accidentally leaving shit in his car that he gave back immediately when they figured out that he had it versus Trump not only having that shit but then keeping it and saying, no, I'm not going to give it back to you after they repeatedly asked for it.
It was there.
Difference, right?
It was there
Huge
for
difference.
20 years. Right? And then all of a sudden it came out that, oh yeah, Joe Biden did the same goddamn thing that Donald Trump did.
It's not the same thing. That's ridiculous to think that's the same thing. He's not
right.
He's not hoarding shit and then not giving it back when they ask for it, like what Donald Trump did. That's a huge difference. If
Donald Trump said he declassified it before he left office.
So that's what breaks the part. He said he did it, even though he said I didn't actually do it. I just thought it. Like,
okay, but he actually has the power to do that. So the question,
did that, but he didn't actually do that. And he says,
well, that's the question. We haven't found out.
Okay.
The jury has not decided.
Okay.
Joe Biden could not do that as vice president.
Yeah, he when you accidentally leave a bunch of crap in your car or whatever it is that he did, and
so the law does not matter, is what you're saying. So
if you're trying to say that does the exact same things, they're not the same thing.
No, I'm
saying he was writing his memoirs.
No, I'm saying it's not the exact same thing because Donald Trump actually could declassify that. Joe Biden,
so if you
could not at the time.
Okay, so if you're trying to say that Joe Biden was negligent in keeping some shit he wasn't supposed to keep, and then when they found out and they say, hey, you got some shit in your car that we found out about, can you give it back? All right.
I understand what you're saying, but what you're saying is the letter of the law does not matter unless it's Donald Trump.
That's not what I said at all, because even if Donald Trump had kept this shit and then when they say, hey, you have this shit, give it back, and he did, then I wouldn't be as freaking or upset about this shit as a lot of people is. But the fact that he sat around and hoarded around about it, and you saw that it was like nuclear secrets and shit like that. He was bragging about it.
No, we did not see that. We saw what the FBI wanted us to see, and it turns out they staged some shit.
Oh, come on. Give me a break. Nobody
run it.
Yes.
Oh my God.
What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville.
In Iraq, a war that he voted for. He sent his son into a war where he got brain cancer from the burn pits. A war that they lied us into, by the way. And Joe Biden voted in favor of that. By the way, that's the libertarian in me coming out, Aaron.
Virginia, people coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in Germany. And the young woman, they spoke to the mother, and they asked him. They said, "What do you think of those people? The ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones," he said, "I think they're fine people on both sides." What American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas were fine people? This is a guy who says Hitler's done some good things.
Are you seeing this little deal down here?
What?
Do you believe Americans voting for former President Trump are voting against democracy?
That was a question he asked.
That was the question, though.
I know, but like,
media.
That's like bad territory there.
It's the debate between the two major candidates, which by definition is a fucking democracy. So if you vote for the guy that's running to lead a democracy, is that democracy or not?
Well, it's just like back during the Bush years. Like, if you weren't for freedom, you weren't American.
You ain't American.
You're voting against America.
I'm a little bit country.
I'm a little bit rock and roll.
Yeah.
They are. The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on this. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency is, without question, the worst president. The worst presidency.
I don't like Trump all politician-y. He's being too politician-y.
Yeah, not my cup of tea.
I don't like it.
That's not fun.
In the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every anchor every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day, it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden?
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president.
Carrying the what?
Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated. We saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So why? Why? They know him well. They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
Is this the first commercial break?
That's the first commercial break.
We have to watch the commercials for that.
All right.
Because
I'm game.
Trump's is really funny.
The House will be in order.
I'm game.
This year, C-SPAN celebrates 45 years of covering Congress like no other. Since 1979, we've been your primary source for Capitol Hill, providing balanced, unfiltered coverage of government.
Our country.
I stand here tonight as my own man, and I want you to know me.
Al Gore. I'm my own man.
Super cereal.
Super. Tim, this was a great idea you had.
Yeah. The commercials.
They had their chance.
Strategery.
I got them fuckers. Now watch this drive.
They have not led. We will.
I'm John Kerry.
I don't have a heart, but I'm from New England.
Easter Island head.
I'm a new Muppet character.
I literally do not have a heart. I am made out of steel.
And Heinz ketchup.
I love that.
Do you know how hard it is to throw war medals off a bridge when you have no heart?
And I'm reporting for duty.
Oh man, I haven't seen that one before.
Oh fuck! I gotcha. We went into Iraq. Shouldn't have done that, but I gotcha.
My bad.
Brought moments I could not.
Did you see that first World Series?
It's time for us to.
I said I was going to free all the black people, but instead I drone bombed American citizens without a warrant or a conviction or anything of the sort.
Please, God,
show
Hillary.
I wasn't my own man.
John
Here's
McCain.
the shoulders.
John McCain. I got tortured by a lot of Vietnamese men, but they knew not what they do.
Better be funny.
I hate them. We should not have left so soon, and because of that, we should probably be in the Middle East for here and now to come.
More. I was my country's.
I don't believe that rolling back regulations on Wall Street will help the small businesswoman expand or the laid-off construction worker keep his home.
Shoot a basketball.
We have been there. We've tried that, and we're not going back. We are moving forward, America.
Under my administration, our friends will see more loyalty, and Mr. Putin will see a little less flexibility and more back.
Why did we put him on the screen? I know they thought that was the Republican guy, but like even Utah doesn't like Mitt Romney. He's stepping down. And he has so much money. He could have that seat forever. He's also high up in the Mormon church, and they're just like, hey, bro, step aside, please.
He wants to make America great again. Well, he could start.
My vagina has not been touched in 43 years.
He's got a snook in her sniz.
Yeah.
And even my husband will tell you it's a waste of a good vagina.
Dude, every time I see her since that South Park episode, every time I see her, all I can see is whatever monster's in her vagina just fucking eating this dude's head. And you see his legs just flapping.
See, I just picture Bill Clinton, who we all know, and us, like, he'll fuck anything. And I kind of respect it. And he was like, it's a waste of a good vagina, man.
Those two made the ugliest person ever.
It's like the Lord of the Rings. You just throw it back into the hole because it ain't worth it. Nobody can handle it. It's a good vagina, but nobody can handle it.
By actually making things in America again.
We will make America safe again.
They made him extra orange right there, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think he did that to himself.
I mean, it's possible.
Look at the Botox, too. He's puffy.
He's an orange. Puffy and orange.
Yeah.
And we will make America great again.
Here and now, I'll give you my word.
They did not pep him up a bit.
No,
not even a little bit.
And in just a moment, our simulcast of the CNN presidential debate between President Biden and former President Trump will resume.
I think I got about
this is
10
happening
more
live from CNN studios in Atlanta.
Welcome back to the CNN presidential debate live from
I started
Georgia.
it live.
Let's talk about persistent challenges you both faced in your first terms, and you'd certainly face again in a second term. President Biden, while Black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, Black families still earn far less than white families.
Are they
Black
really
mothers
black?
are still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes. And Black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to Black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
Should stay home?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is there's more small Black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of Black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, we're providing housing for Black Americans. And dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses.
It's not funny.
And in addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice Black families have to make relative to child care.
They ran out about 10 minutes ago.
Difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce Black child care costs. I cut them in half. We got to make sure we provide for child care costs. We got to make sure because when you provide those child care protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds left. What do you say to Black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
You got time.
I don't blame them for being disappointed.
50 seconds.
Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any Black family first-time home buyer should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home so they can get started. I made sure that we're in a situation where all those Black families and those Black individuals who provided had to take out student loans that were ballooning.
If you were a person of color like me, you would know.
Nursing, anything having to do with volunteerism. If they paid their bills for 10 years on their student debt, all the rest is forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for Black families.
Thank you, President Trump.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right. It's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New Scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19 and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president.
Whoa!
The economy was flat on its back. 50% unemployment.
Ooh, that was.
There was no inflation.
Yeah.
Rewind that. That might be the. That might be on every political ad from now.
No job.
That is the nail in the
Provided
coffin.
thousands of millions of jobs for individuals
Thousands of
who are
millions
involved
of jobs.
communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered. The ACA has increased. I made sure that they're $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again, and they're going to try again if they win. You find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing any, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops.
Just throw it out like
he asked you about the blacks and you brought up
making
police.
sure people have a shot.
Yeah, it's probably a bad one.
There's a lot going on.
That
And
Adderall is
inflation,
really
he
failing
caused
him.
it by his tremendous
It's waning, buddy.
malfeasance
It's
and the way he
waning.
handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name. And he called it to them for 10, and they've taken great offense at it. And now they see it
How
happening.
do you know about that?
But when they
It's
see
not
what I
even
did
fair.
for criminal justice reform and for the historically black
low-hanging
colleges
fruit.
and
You shouldn't make
universities
fun of that guy.
where I funded
Oh my
them and got
God.
them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the
It's
best
going to be
numbers
Tim
with
Scott
them
for
in
VP, huh?
maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's
The
lost
whitest black dude
much
ever.
of the black population because he's
Ever.
done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and
That's
it's
the
already
only
started.
other
And you haven't seen
politician he's
anything yet.
mentioned
It's a
besides
disaster.
Trump, right? Is Tim
38
Scott.
seconds left.
Yeah.
President
I mean,
Trump,
I don't think
will
he said
you
anything.
take any action
At least
as
he's
president
not like a year from
to slow the
hospice.
climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate,
I'll
clean
roll the
water,
dice with Trump.
and I want absolutely clean air. And we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using
They had
all
H2O.
forms of energy, all forms,
He
everything.
didn't
And
study
yet,
up on this one.
During my
No, I
4
don't think he
years,
knows.
I had the best environment.
Well, if he wants to come be a dictator, he's going to have to come way out in the middle of nowhere. And his bump stock ban just got struck down. So, like I said, I'll roll the dice with Trump.
Numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
just now.
I don't know where the hell he's
They
been.
calculated everything.
The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history.
Can I get some
In
water
history.
up here?
We find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges. I came up with $50 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges, because they don't have the kind of contributors that they have to build these laboratories and the like.
Oh, no,
any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. You just have the money, but now they'll be able to get those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that
big buildings and high tech, that's how you get the black vote. Everybody knows that.
Yep.
He is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water. Cleanest water. He hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. Out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord, I immediately joined it, because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money, because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before, insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. Name on it. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs, because the migrants coming in, they want everybody.
I mean, if you're going to call Trump a Nazi, he is kind of like that, where the Nazis put their name on everything. That's how we know they were so bad. They kept excellent records. Donald Trump's like, $2.2 trillion. It's gonna be huge. Put my name on it. And you're like, oh, that's what started the inflationary deal that Joe Biden just kept going.
There are differences between Trump and Hitler.
Well, yeah. Trump doesn't have a mustache.
Some very subtle differances.
Subtle.
I don't think
Trump's
is
probably
Hitler.
better.
I feel like they're in two different orbits, and say what you will about Trump, but I'm sorry. He's not exterminating 6 million Robs, okay?
He wants to, though.
we all do.
Well, but not because you're Jewish, just because you're a douchebag.
Look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Those old migrants.
The idea is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence. We're not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything? We're not able to, the United States can't get its under control. One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress. And we're continuing to make progress. We set up a climate corps. There's thousands of young people who learn how to deal with them, just like the Peace Corps. And we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution. But the idea that
they should have had Mike Lindell be the
he has the biggest heart up here. How
funny would that be?
Pollution and about
Can you imagine
climate.
if Mike Lindell hated both of them? How they should have had Alex Jones. I think he hates both of them.
Prescription drugs. One company agreed that they would reduce the price.
It'd be like a PBS telethon, but for Alex Jones to raise all the money so he can buy another microphone because the feds are going to confiscate the one he's talking on.
$35, which I was calling for, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company,
the frog's
did not have to
I'm
pay.
a frog.
And by the way,
so every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet.
Did he stop?
For many older Americans, Social Security provides.
I think it's. Did they stop him, or did he just glitched?
That was weird.
Cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way,
so they stopped him.
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is
right,
done
fellas,
to
I'm
Social Security,
fading.
seniors
Yeah.
will see their
I get yelled at by
benefits
the wife.
cut in just over
All right.
10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social
Okay.
Security solvent?
I'm gonna stay on and Tim, are you still good?
I'll keep watching for a few minutes.
Okay. We'll do the Patreon segment. Me and
We'll
Tim
talk
will
some shit about Rob.
right.
Talk shit about Aaron. You do me all the
But
time.
in the meantime, we do have a new theme song, and I don't have it set up on my soundboard yet.
Fuck?
But hey, don't worry. I've got
It's
it
gonna be
queued
the
up.
same thing as the soundboard.
I've got it queued up. And
Move your ass for burning daylight.
Fuck you guys.
Button.
I got beer in my boots, dirt on my truck, corn on my mind, and a gun
in my butt.
Town. At least there's dirt, at least there's beer and trucks and shirts. Beer and trucks, dirt kicks up, guns and butts, big red cups.
Oh, we can cover this shit.
I don't think we got kicked off of YouTube, did we?
Dirty butts, let's all cheer. Oh, the beer it floods, the trucks get mud, the guns are loud, the butts are proud. Got a beer on my
Butts are proud.
biscuit in my boot, the gun in my butt, and the truck gets through. Beer and trucks, the kids up, guns and butts.
I got a biscuit in my boot.
Cups, dirty boots, dirty butts. Let's all cheer. Yeah, it's a big small town, but we got that dirt. Oh,
All right,
we got
Matt.
that beer and a guy named Bert. Just a little small town. There's not much to do except shake our butts to a country tune. Butts, dirt kicks up, guns and butts, big red cups, dirty boots, dirty beer, dirty butts. Let's all cheer. Oh, the beer it floods, the trucks get mud, the guns are loud, the butts are proud. Got a bottle on my plate, a biscuit in my boot, a gun in my butt, and a butt. It's true. Beer in trucks, dirt kicks up, guns and butts, big red cups, dirty boots, dirty butts. Let's all cheer. Oh, the beer it floods, the butts get mud, the butts are loud, the guns are proud. Got a butt on my plate, biscuit.
I got a butt on my plate.
Gun in my butt, and a butt. It's true. It's guns and butts, big red cups, dirty boots, dirty butts. Let's all cheer. Oh, the beer it floods, the trucks get mud. The guns are loud, the butts are proud. Got a butt on my plate, a biscuit in my boot, a gun in my butt, and a butt. It's true. Beer in trucks, dirt kicks up, guns in butts, big red cups, dirty boots, dirty beer, dirty butts. Let's all cheer.
God bless.
oh, God bless. All right, let me pop this.
Greatest thing I've ever found in my life.
You gotta go take a leak or anything, because I kind of gotta go pee. All right, let's do that.
All right, pause.
Pause. I'm so glad my computer works today.
Yeah, it's amazing. Hi, Patreon.
Oh, what a world we live in, Tim. Like
it's Patreon time, baby.
This is the best that America has to offer, apparently.
Jesus.
It's
to make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now, everybody making under 100.
Yes.
Matt tells me this is when you can say the N word.
We can say the N word.
Ward?
Ward. No, not word. Ward.
All right.
We can definitely say faggot like Aaron and Rob.
Yeah, those guys. Yeah, they're already
total
asleep.
faggots. I don't know if they're gay or not, but they're definitely faggots.
I mean, they know
$70,000 pays
6%.
They know what a dick is. They know what a dick is.
Well, not only that, they know what they taste like.
Oh yeah. They like I said, they know it.
They know their way around.
Yeah.
Of their income, of their paycheck, every single
Trump
time they
so
get a paycheck
funny.
from the time of the first one they get when they're 18
Pure
years old.
entertainment.
The idea that they're gonna, I'm proposing that everybody they pay, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one after I would not raise the cost of Social
Okay,
Security for
pause. How the fuck do you debate with this?
Like I said, I did not like the muted mics, but I also, if you remember 2020, that first debate where he was
he was just yelling over everybody.
Right. So like I kind of appreciate the muted mics, but now like he knows it. And I don't think the muted mic helps him that much. And he's become too much of a Republican. I don't want Republican Donald Trump. I want Donald Trump.
I don't like Trump, but
right.
He is winning this debate by like
leaps and
miles.
bounds.
It's ridiculous right now. This guy hasn't put a sentence together in the last hour.
And when he does, it starts like this.
Oh God.
Yeah, like he was talking about elder care, like worry about elder abuse because
this guy is like, these guys both are like almost a decade past the normal lifespan of an American.
I know. Like I've been talking about this Russia-Ukraine deal. Like, it's not that I don't think that the American military, when properly staffed, run, and armed, couldn't beat the Russian military. Even if we're not, I still think we could beat the Russian military.
Yeah.
But I don't want either of these motherfuckers running the military. Like, I want a serious person running the military, because if you look at the type of war that's being fought in Ukraine right now, it's World War I with fucking drones. It's terrifying. Yeah. I've got a nephew.
This is who we have to decide against.
Right. And I've got a nephew that just made lieutenant in the U.S. Army. And I've got about 5 nephews that are eligible for the first wave of the draft, which seems like they're bringing back.
It's coming back.
Rob told me I was crazy, but I was like, I don't know. It seems like they're pretty serious about that. Like, if it didn't need changed, why did they change it right now?
And Jesus Christ, this is who we have. Like, it's a douche in a turd sandwich.
Right. And you're like, at least Trump can punch somebody. I don't think Biden can literally punch somebody and survive.
Yeah.
If you would have gave me
impact on his fist would end his life.
If you would have gave me Trump 6 years ago versus Biden 6 years ago, I might have been really conflicted of who to vote for, because I think they're kind of the same person.
This is
Trump. Trump is clearly more with it. Like, Joe Biden clearly has dementia. Clearly.
He is winning this by a mile. He needs one more like that one line that he had an hour ago. He needs one more of those.
But nobody actually believes that whatever is happening at the federal level is being directed by Joe Biden. Nobody believes that.
No.
And if you say you do, I'm calling you a liar right now.
Exactly.
Because
after that, it began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share
that.
by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no, that one enough will keep it solvent. But the biggest thing will do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare both times. And if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus,
Trump right now is like Ali when he's doing the like the
float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
He is destroying this guy right now.
It's like if you watch UFC, it's one of those Dagestani Russian guys pick up their opponent and walk them over to Dana White before they slam them on the mat. That's what's happening right now.
This is
hard to watch. In fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to
that's our fucking president
is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater healthcare coverage today than ever before.
Thank God we've got two oceans.
As I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only allows them to have that insurance is the fact.
40 million people or whatever you just said.
He's at 40,000 and then 40 million and
but you're the president right now. How is 4 more years going to help any of this?
Right. And also he was vice president when Obamacare got passed.
Seriously,
with no Republican support, by the way. So to blame Trump for any of it is ridiculous.
You're president right now, dude. Like, you could do this. You could fix this. But no.
Well, and all right, so Donald Trump got elected in 2016. And one of his big promises, well, two big promises essentially, was build the wall, didn't happen. And then repeal Obamacare, which didn't happen because of John McCain.
Yeah.
Well, Joe Biden was on camera. Remember, if you said this is a big fucking deal with Obamacare, like Joe Biden passed Obamacare. He was the president of the Senate. So if there would have been a tie vote, Joe Biden would have been the tiebreaker and he would have voted for it. But either way, like that was his deal. And he's talking about how bad healthcare is. Well, you put it into place, motherfucker.
Exactly. You've been president for 3.5 years. What has happened? Anything.
He's pooped his pants at Normandy. So that happened.
He has. Yeah, he did do that.
In front of the Pope, allegedly. We didn't see that. We saw Normandy. We saw that one. Yeah. We saw that one. Oh, and I don't know about you but as an American, you're like, D-Day is our thing. Like that's if you had to pick one shining moment in America, it'd be D-Day.
American moment.
D-Day or Iwo like coin flip between those two. And I'll give the edge to D-Day because it was more men. Yeah, that's the only reason, because D-Day was on the edge of a continent where Iwo Jima was a tiny speck in the middle of the fucking ocean. But either way, like
if Gettysburg with that too.
Yeah, but you're splitting half the country because the other half was on the losing side.
I mean, there was a problem there.
All right, so let's take Gettysburg out of it. We'll take the Civil War out of it, even though that's where our biggest battles were. But let's say Bunker Hill,
Battle of the Bulge.
Battle of the Bulge. What was the that town in Virginia where Cornwallis finally surrendered to end the Revolutionary War. But you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. God damn it, we're Americans and we know what we're talking about. So I'll say that
the proudest moments to be an American were those. There was like 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, after that, like, I mean, the withdrawal out of Afghanistan, Trump's not wrong. That was one of the most
that was terrible
moments ever.
Well, and like I said, I will still give it to Joe Biden. That's his best accomplishment to date, because at least we're not in Afghanistan. And while none of the lives lost were worth it, at least it was only 13. It was only 13.
I feel like Trump could have done it in a way that would have been more diplomatic and more less
and that's the hell of it all was the Taliban was telling us about ISIS-K. We knew about ISIS-K. We knew about the fucking bomber and did nothing with it.
We had him in the crosshairs.
It wasn't even the Taliban that like after it all happened and you see the Taliban cruising around in Blackhawks and crashing into Kabul, which I thought was pretty funny myself, but
they didn't know how to use it.
That wasn't the Taliban that attacked us. Like, because Trump said, hey, don't fucking touch us and we're cool. And that's kind of what happened, because I think if you ask him deep down, he knew that the Taliban was going to take over, because everybody else with a sane mind knew that was going to happen.
Well, also, like, I mean, Ukraine, Trump is 100% correct in saying that Ukraine and October 7th would not have happened if he was president.
Ukraine for sure. I don't know about October 7th because
okay, yeah. October 7th would have happened probably, but then Trump would have told Israel, go in fast, finish this quick. And
I think Trump has the same thought that I do on Gaza, Israel. I don't particularly like Israel. I really don't care for them. They've got us. They've got us involved in a lot of wars in the Middle East needlessly.
I mean,
however,
have been kind of the target of a lot of people.
That's very true. Honest fact. However, they have not helped their case since 1945.
No, they've kind of been, they've kind of, they've.
And while I don't think it's okay for the Palestinians to do the suicide attacks and all the shit that they did, I don't think that's good. And I think that the Israelis are right to attack them. It does seem like they went a little over the top.
I don't know if they have.
Maybe not. But either way, what is indisputable is they are using weapons that me and you paid for to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm like, hey, do what you got to do, but build your own bombs, build your own fucking planes, and do it yourself. And if you can't, well, then maybe make nice with all your neighbors, because they're about to come down on you like the wrath of God.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, because I would be like, I don't think anyone around them has any kind of the wrath of God that the IDF has.
No, the IDF has bigger weaponry for sure, but they're a very small country.
They are a small country, but they are a strong country.
True, but so is Turkey, and Turkey's about 15 times bigger, and they're also equipped with NATO weapons.
I don't think that would matter. Actually,
maybe
no.
Not.
Turkey wouldn't do much, I don't think, because they are NATO.
I hope so. Honestly, I hope so. I hope so.
Anyway, let's see what these two idiots have to say.
Yeah. We'll talk
they,
about
in fact, are part of the ACA.
modern warfare later, but let's figure out what the two potential commanders in chief have to say.
Jesus.
And by the way, the other thing is we're in a situation where I talk about education for Black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants by another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 towards their tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He could look you in the face. About so many other things too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie.
He was asleep. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was weird.
Oh, he fell asleep.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He could look you in the face. About so many other things too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia.
His chin relaxed.
You know what? I will give Trump this. He has not looked at Biden once.
No, well,
Biden keeps looking at him like, what?
Yeah.
And Trump has been faced straight forward the entire time.
Trump is a TV guy, and he knows where that camera is.
He absolutely does.
Like I said, and Rob will not ever admit it because he's just so anti-Trump. I'm not even a Trump guy. Neither are you. But like I said, game recognizes game. Trump's killing this debate. Like he's winning the optics. He's winning the talking points. And he's not fucking asleep. Look at this guy.
I don't see, like, if Biden was to be like, all right, I want round 2, ding, ding, ding. I don't see him doing much better than he is right
now. He would have a family emergency the night before.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm honestly surprised that he did the debate because I halfway expected him to say that, like, I'm not gonna debate a convicted felon.
Yeah. Well, also, like, I mean, he has the entire mainstream media has his back. Like, he could have ridden that wave.
Yeah. And even the hard questions they asked Biden tonight were still fucking layups.
Yeah.
Like, they were still slanted to make Donald Trump look bad.
Even when they were hard, like, and he was sitting there, like, looking at him like, oh, why the fuck are you saying this? They were still slanted to be able to have an angle towards Trump.
Yeah. And like give him a little bit of a layup.
Yeah.
And there's the guy can't jump. White man can't jump.
Nope.
Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers that he made up is a total lie on the military.
Russia
it's a disgrace.
The election, I think.
But Social Security.
I hope I'm wrong.
He's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals.
What I'm afraid of is Trump wins, and then Russia and Hamas both have, and Iran. All of them have like a 3-month window where they're like, all right, well, we got to do this now. And they're just going to go hard. That's scary to me.
Well, I think partially that's true, but also if you look at some of the headlines, and by the headlines, I mean state media. And I mean that CNN, Fox News, whatever. Like, honestly, if you're not on Substack or listening to podcasts, you're really not getting news. You're getting state media.
Propaganda. Yeah.
State media. And they've been telling us for almost 3 years now how Ukraine is winning the fight, but they've lost 4 different states, or I forget what they call their different states, but they've lost Crimea. That was in 2014.
Yeah.
Nobody is like they claim they're going to take back Crimea, but that's not going to fucking happen because
No.
that's the only warm water or year-round warm water port for Russia. So like that's in the winter, that's the only place they can export anything they make, which is mostly wheat and gas.
Yeah.
And when we overthrew the Ukrainian government in 2008, the new president threatened to revoke the lease from Sevastopol, which is in Crimea. And like I said, the only warm water port, year-round warm water port for Russia. Huge, like 60% of their economy in the winter.
Yeah.
So they took it, and then they held a referendum. A little cold, I hear. Little cold. So they took it without a fight, essentially. Like I think 2 people died when they annexed Crimea. They did their little election, which, it's a Russian election, so take that with whatever we say. But like UN inspectors did a poll afterward, and they're like, oh yeah, most of these people are Russian and they want to stay in Russia.
Yeah.
So like the whole world has essentially said, oh, we're not going to call it Russia, but Crimea is Russia.
Crimea.
Well, then they took 3 more provinces on top, or 4 more provinces on top of that. And Russia or Ukraine has not been able to gain any significant ground back.
No.
And doesn't look like they're going to. And as I've mentioned before, and I'm not joking, but they're literally scooping retards and old men off the street to send them to the front. And now I saw that the Biden administration has okayed mercenary groups to go fight in Ukraine, which only means that when that doesn't work because they're running out of mercenary groups, they're going to send the U.S. military in, or NATO of some point. It might be France first and then Slovenia, but I forget.
Still,
I think it was Lithuania was talking a whole bunch of shit about how they're going to defend their country. They have like 4,000 active military members. 4,000. And you're like, oh.
That'll last about 15 minutes.
I hope you guys are really badass, because maybe you'll last 16 minutes. But goddamn, 4,000 and you're gonna defend an entire country? God, that's what Trump was saying. Is like, and we're gonna pay for all that? Fuck you.
Oh, it'll come out of our pocket. Yeah.
George Washington was right way back in the day. Stay the fuck out of European problems.
Yeah.
Taking the place of our citizens there. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden?
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired, because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it, number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why.
I do love how they just pretend like that's not happening.
Like,
like nobody ever addresses the fact that it's already happened. They're like, oh, you're a racist for suggesting that. Like, but you would know
this is
better
real
than
life.
I would.
This is real life.
You live in downtown Denver and you're like, I see them from my fucking balcony.
everywhere.
Yeah, but don't look at that. Trump's a racist for bringing it up.
Yeah.
We have the fastest growing economy in the world. The reason why we have the most successful economy in the world.
Don't believe your
We're
eyes.
doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 50.
I bought so the little store down the street is pretty expensive because it's it's like a little country store, general store type deal.
Okay.
We're a small town. So like back even when Obama was in office, like a gallon of milk cost about $2.50.
Okay.
$7.19 the other day.
Jesus Christ. No, there was actually I think it's something on Instagram or TikTok, but basically a guy went on and saw like an old order that he had placed on Walmart, I think, and it was like $140 some odd dollars. He then, and that was in like 2020 or something like that. Mm-hmm. He looked at it now; it's like $416. It's like order the same thing again. It was $416. Well,
Spotify Premium was $4.99 in like 2014. Now they just moved it up to $19.99.
That's wild.
Which I don't like. It probably should be because Spotify Premium is fucking awesome. You can literally search any song ever made and play it.
Yeah.
But still, that's a 500% increase.
It's crazy.
$4 or I guess it was $4.99, so $5 to $20. So 400% increase in 5 years. Fucking stupid.
15 Nobel laureates. He talked about
and Trump
being
had
phony.
A part in that.
Those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump
Trump's excited, he said this.
And inflation is going to increase.
Most entertaining man.
By the way,
ever.
worst president in history. 159 presidential scholars
does
voted
look like a chicken.
Him the worst president in
his
history.
Necklace and everything.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue. But the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for two children is...
You remember my buddy Kranz that used to hang out with it?
Yeah.
Kranz reminds me a lot of Trump. Trump has the money. Trump has the money to back it up. Like Kranz had some money, but he didn't have Trump money. But they acted the same way.
I can see that, yeah.
More than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make childcare more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that Afghan, the Afghanistan horror show. The most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons, many from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. COVID. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters.
And make it for Aaron.
And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one.
We've got a dude wearing an admiral's dress that has never served a day in the military.
We are the laughing stock of the world right now.
By the way, you need to buy some of this Swedish nicotine.
What is it?
It's called Siberia. The Zins are what, like 6 milligrams?
Yeah.
These are 33.
Oh,
if you get the actual tobacco, it's 43. And actually, I think the tobacco is better. That's just me.
Zins are super hard to find right now too.
I've heard that. I've heard that.
I've had to resort to Rogues, which suck.
Yeah, go with Siberia. You pay extra for shipping, but they're pretty cheap. Honestly, they're about the same as a Zin can.
I might
wants to screw around with us. Nobody. Number one. Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up. Go online. 159 or 58. Don't hold me the exact number. Presidential historians. They've had meetings and they voted who was the worst president in American history. One through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with child care.
Trump's ready to go.
Virtually nothing.
Come on, Trump.
We should significantly increase the child care tax credit.
I know.
We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make child care more affordable if you want to take
a wedding.
Just you understand. We have polling. We have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me. I'll show you. I will show you. And they rate me one of the best. Okay. And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever
let it go by.
Created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about, he's increased the tariff. He will increase the taxes on middle-class people. I said I never raised a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference.
Are you talking to your wife?
And all the things that were important.
Tell her
Number two,
we're busy.
He's in a situation where he talks about how he is not raised.
Well, Tim
he's
ruining
somehow
the
helped
debate.
the middle class. Middle class.
No, I said we're busy.
Now you want a new
doing
tax cut of
mandates.
$5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You had the largest deficit of any president in American history. Number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden.
You lost
Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year. primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs, because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't, because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
The wall.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And there was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot, and we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low, because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways, but the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him, because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while.
What?
I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl. These big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal.
That's our president.
More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect
fentanyl
drugs,
machine.
more
fentanyl
numbers
machines.
of agents, more numbers of all the people.
But you won't.
And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues, said, "Don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically." No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. We're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl, and Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage, we always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter, I think a good guy, and he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago, but Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where he paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 6 at the end of your 2nd term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the 2nd youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look how I've turned around the horrible situation he left me. As I said, 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over
all of the jobs were
billions
gone
of
because
dollars
of
of private
COVID.
investment in
they're all
enterprises.
government
We are
jobs.
growing. By the way, we brought off a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, the whole
If
idea.
you were lucky
computer
enough
chips.
to
We used
keep
to
your
have 40%
job,
of the market. We
we'd
invented
pay for
those
this
chips,
guy.
and we lost it because he was sending people to
Most
find the
likely
cheapest
a
jobs
dude in a
overseas
dress.
and then bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States, and guess what? Those fabs they call that to build these
Let's
chips.
see what Trump
Those
has to
fabs
say.
pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them, and there's billions. About $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before. We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and those who he coddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year.
Uncle Joe's going to come back.
We knock on wood wherever we may have wood. That I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even seniors, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they've never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's it. Anyway, just take a look at what he says he is. Take a look at what he is.
You know what I mean?
Look, I'd be happy to have.
This is what it's devolved into.
I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6.
I would beat his ass, and I'm a 12.5.
I told you before, I'm happy.
I'm a 12.5, and I would beat his ass.
Look at this guy. He's going to beat you.
Jesus
going to beat
Christ.
you.
You play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
You got to carry your own bag, Tim.
I'll carry my own bag. And
you got to carry your own bag.
I would be okay carrying my bag and his bag.
The biggest lie that he's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
They're going to
God.
about the handicap.
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Okay,
let's not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to turn
Let's not act like children.
to a specific concern that voters have about you.
He got it in.
Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
A lot of caveats.
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. And I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent because he indicted
can't wait
me
for him to hole up in
because I was his
Mar-a-Lago.
opponent. I wish he was a great president.
I
would
wait.
rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him.
Guy.
He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is attack on all and required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done and what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election?
Donors there. Somebody was in the audience. It's supposed to be nobody in the audience.
Someone's there.
Yeah, you heard the clap. You heard the clap about Ukraine. Motherfuckers. There's like, hey, lot of weapons that we're dealing right now.
Election, regardless of who wins.
Just to finish what he said, if I might.
Oh, just to finish.
Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not lying there. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games.
They impeached him.
He took
over
nothing
Ukraine,
from me.
by the way.
Yeah.
Now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you asked me a question before, would you do this? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were president.
Trump, the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local. None. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this representation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea, if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate live from Georgia.
Sounds good.
Can we play this song again?
Oh, we can play it.
C-SPAN Now is a free mobile app featuring your unfiltered view of what's happening in Washington, live and on demand. Keep up with the day's biggest events with live streams of floor proceedings and hearings from the U.S. Congress.
I got beer in my boots, dirt on my truck, corn on my mind, and a gun up my butt. It's a small town. At least there's dirt, at least there's beer and trucks and shirts. Beer and trucks, dirt kicks up, guns and butts, big red cups, dirty boots, dirty beer, dirty butts. Let's all cheer. Oh, the beer in front, the trucks get mud, the guns are loud, the butts are proud. Got a beer on my plate, a biscuit in my boot, a gun in my butt, and a truck gets true. Beer in trucks, the kicks up, guns and butts, big red cups, dirty boots, dirty beer, dirty butts. Let's all cheer. Yeah, it's a big small town, but we got that dirt. Oh, we got that beer and a guy named Bert. Just a little small town, there's not much to do except shake our butts to a country tune. In Bucks, dirt kicks up, guns and bucks, big red cups, dirty boots, dirty
all right, see you, buddy.
Dirty butts. Let's all cheer. Oh, the beer and butts, the trucks get mud.
They want us to like Biden so bad. Look at it. Yeah.